Morris. I'm Dr. Yasaka from Zion Law School. Welcome to the free astrotheology class. All right, course rather, free astrotheology course. Let me get myself together here. All right, so our textbook is still The Gospel and the Zodiac. The Secret Truth About JC, the Christ Figure. This is by Bill Darrell-El, all right? The link to the free PDF is in the description area of the video, or you can buy this on Amazon, all right? So let's get started. We are in the book that's inserted inside of this book called The Forgotten Language of the Stars, all right? So we're on page 33. And isn't it interesting that the subheading, the Zodiac in the Bible, starts on page 33? Is that a coincidence, yo? You decide. All right. Despite its unfortunate contemporary association with bead curtains, crystal balls, and newspaper fortune telling, there is nothing inherently magical about the zodiac. It is defined as a belt of the sky extending 8 or 9 degrees on either side of the ecliptic. So the ecliptic is the angle of the apparent path of the sun. Okay, so the sun is moving like this, at this angle. Here's the celestial equator, and here's the ecliptic of the sun, all right? So the sun is moving like this, all right? And this angle is 23 degrees, 23 to 23.5 degrees, depending on where you read. I think in the Devil's Pulpit, it says that the angle is 23 degrees, all right? But the interesting thing about that angle, let's say this is the celestial ecliptic, this is the celestial equator, this is the ecliptic, let's say it's this angle is 23 degrees or 23.5, all right? That means that when the sun is here, it's right on the equator, the celestial equator. That means the sun is at 0 degrees, right? That's when you have 12 hours of day and 12 hours of light. So imagine if instead of there being a 23-degree angle, imagine if the sun was exactly if the ecliptic was 0 degrees. So that the ecliptic and the celestial equator are both 0 degrees. Y'all know what that would mean? That would mean 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night, year round, between the tropics and the equator. Y'all hear? 12 hours. So that's justice. Etc., etc., etc. But what video did I go through when I discussed this? There was a video. I discussed this in more detail. But anyway, would the earth be paradise? All over the earth? Was the sun once at 0 degree? In other words, the sun was exactly on the celestial equator and it stayed there all year. Y'all get it? So the angle of the eclipse is why we have seasons. So if there's no angle, y'all think about it, it would be always sunshine. So let's say if that was the case, what happened to cause that angle? And then that movement from 0 degrees to 23 or 23.5 degrees, did that cause any type of catastrophes on planet Earth? So the ancients, this is what allegedly the ancients say. Some 15,000 years or so or more, Saturn, there's one other planet, used to be right there prominently. You look up into the sky and you see Saturn with this big ring. And one other planet, I have to go back and check it. But you look into the sky, you don't see the sun. You see Saturn and another planet. And if my memory serves me correctly, Saturn was the sun. And then something happened, and now Saturn is, I think, the 6th planet out. There was a reconfiguration. And the present day sun is the sun that we see when we look up in the sky now. So whatever that reconfiguration was, whatever the mechanism, is that what caused it to go from 0 degrees to 23 or 23.5 degrees? I'm talking about the ecliptic. Y'all see what I'm saying? So it was a whole different phenomena back then. Or maybe even that sun, maybe there was no ecliptic. I don't know. I don't know how it worked. But there was a reconfiguration according to the ancients because, like I said, up until about 15,000 years ago, you look up into the sky, you see Saturn and one other planet. Something happened. Now it's number 6, and we have the sun that we see now at a 23 to 23.5 or somewhere about there angle of the ecliptic. But anyway, that would explain why so much is known about Saturn. And maybe I don't want to say the other planet because I don't remember. But that would explain why so much is known, how the ancients knew so much. But anyway, let's continue. It is defined, that's the zodiac. The zodiac is defined as a belt of the sky extending 8 or 9 degrees on either side of the ecliptic. The circle that the sun appears to trace in its yearly journey around the earth. Okay, so y'all, the ecliptic is different from the sun's orbit, all right? The ecliptic is the path, if you're standing on earth, it's its apparent path, all right? The constellations of the zodiac are the group of stars which provide a backdrop to this journey, okay? So the backdrop simply means the background. When you look up into the sky, what do you see? That's the backdrop. Simple, right? Or if you go to a museum, let's say there are 10 paintings, 3 feet apart from each other. You look at one painting, that's the backdrop. You look at another painting, that's a backdrop. It's just a background, right? So you see the painting and maybe there are people walking between you and the painting, but in the background or the backdrop, you see the painting. That's all it's saying. All right? All right. Well, let's continue. So the constellations of the zodiac, 12 zodiacs, right? Or 12 constellations, are the groups of stars which provide a backdrop to this journey. In other words, so as the sun appears to travel across the sky, remember Horus The zone of Horus, the horizon, walks across the sky in 12 steps, right? So as the sun moves across the sky, you'll see a different backdrop. So maybe this month you see this backdrop. You see this backdrop. Maybe the next month you see this backdrop. My hand is just the constellations, okay? Maybe the next one you see something like this. I'm just showing y'all different configurations of my fingers to show that that's all you're seeing. It's nothing complicated. Just a different group of stars, a different zodiac that when you look up in the sky, you see it. That's all it's saying. All right, really simple. So when we say that the sun is in the constellation Aries, for example, we mean that the stars of the constellation Aries are in the background at this particular stage in the sun's annual cycle. Y'all got that? So if this is Aries, and when the sun is going through its cycle, the sun is in Aries. Okay, look at my finger. Let's say this is Pisces. All right, the sun now is in Pisces. It's not actually in it, but y'all see? It's like that. It's not actually in it. It's just like that. All right? Let me try to get out the picture, yeah. It's just like that. Something like that. But anyway, for every constellation. So that's another constellation. This is another one. All right, the sun is in that house. All right. Easy, right? The Hebrews called the zodiac Mazarah. Okay, this is the famous word Mazarah. A word which means separated, divided. The singular Mazal denoting an individual constellation. Chapter 9 of the book of Job mentions, quote, the bear, Orion, the Pleiades, and the constellations of the south. That's in verse 9. The bear, Arish in Hebrew, refers to the constellation Ursa Major. Orion is very conspicuous. Orion is a very conspicuous non-zodiacal constellation. And the Pleiades is a beautiful group of stars in the constellation Taurus. Later in Job we read, can you bind the beautiful Pleiades? Can you loose the cords of Orion? Can you bring forth the constellations? That's Mazzaroth, y'all. In their seasons, or lead out the bear with its cubs. Do you know the laws of the heavens? Y'all heard about natural law and nature's God? Well, here, this is what we're talking about. Natural phenomena or celestial phenomena and the laws that govern their configuration, their movement, and everything else. This is natural law, all right? Nature's God and nature's law. That's how it's expressed in the Declaration of Independence. Do you know the laws of the heavens? Can you set up capital God's dominion over the earth? That's Job 38, 31 through 33, those famous verses, right? Even though the expression, quote unquote, laws of the heavens at Job 38, 33, does seem to reflect a paranatural use of the word heaven of the type described by Dobin. Remember Dobin gave us the root, I think it was MSL. And that MSL says that it has consciousness and awareness, and it can affect, influence itself and any other thing, object, man or woman. There's also leadership involved. Let me read the quote. Dobin, in ethical dimension, quote, which implies conscious and intelligent control of both self and subjects, as well as leadership by example, which is precisely the type of rulership ascribed by astrology to these heavenly bodies. You'll find that in Dobin on page 89. And the root word is MSL, which is rendered in English rule, R-U-L-E. All right, so let's go back. Okay, so let me repeat it. This expression, laws of the heavens, at Job 38:33, does seem to reflect a paranatural use of the word heaven of the type described by Dobin. We just went over that. We cannot assume from this passage an endorsement of astrology. I agree with that. By the author of the book of Job. However, we can deduce from passages like this, so there are more passages like that, more scriptures like that, that wherever in the Bible there is, let me repeat that. However, we can deduce from passages like this that nowhere in the Bible is there any censure of the zodiac itself. Y'all hear that? There's no censure of the zodiac. That means there's nothing that says you cannot discuss it, talk about it, investigate it, use it. It's just cosmic energy. Seiss writes, what makes something have a positive or a negative impact? Your intention, right? Seiss writes, the wonder is that the Jewish prophets never once assail it, that is the zodiac. Y'all hear that? The Jewish prophets never attack, never assail the zodiac, or speak one word against it. Even when burdened with messages of the wrath and punishment of capital God upon the heathenism and idolatry. Had the system been nothing but an outgrowth of the wild imaginations of man, incorporated as it was with false religions, then dominating all over the world, it is next to impossible to explain why it was not preeminently singled out for prophetic malediction. Page 178. The Hebrews regarded the zodiac as originating with capital God himself, is implied in Job 26, verse 13. By his wrath, the skies became fair. His hand pierced the gliding serpent. I'm interested to know, wouldn't y'all like to see what's actually written in the original Ancient Ibaryath? Wouldn't y'all like to see that? I certainly want to see it. We know that they hide all kind of things in English, right? We know that in the original language, there's information there that doesn't make it into the English rendering. So we're just looking at what's given to us in the English, but what's buried beneath the English in the Ancient Ibaryath. This is why I'm doing the project to rewrite the book of the law in Ancient Ibaryath and from Ancient Ibaryath into modern English so y'all can see it. I will show it. Whatever's there, I will show it. Quote, unquote, became fair is from the Hebrew Shifa, let me repeat that, Shifra, which means beautified. So by his breath, the skies became beautified. And the gliding serpent is either a reference to the zodiac itself, right? So you'd have the head of the serpent, and then its body, and then what? Its tail and its mouth forming a circle. Or it could be Hydra, right? Hydra is the biggest, the big constellation. Y'all know Hydra, sometimes it's depicted as a sea serpent or a dragon. All right? And the gliding serpent is either a reference to the zodiac itself, which is often depicted as a snake with its tail in its mouth, so that would form a belt or a ring, a circle, right? Or to the constellation Hydra, the fleeing serpent. This verse is an example of parallelism, a feature of Hebrew poetic style in which the second part of a verse repeats in modified form the sense of the first part. In other words, you say it one way this time, and then the next sentence, you say it a different way. You say the same thing different ways. That's all that's saying, okay? Parallelism. The second implication then is that the spirit is breath, of capital G-O-D, has made the heavens beautiful by shaping the constellations themselves. Y'all got that? The spirit or the breath has made the heavens beautiful by shaping would be the configurations, right? So in other words, the Most High configured each of the 12 zodiac signs. In other words, the Most High put each star into each zodiac sign and gave it its form, its shape. All right? The implication then is that the spirit, which is the breath of capital G-O-D, has made the heavens beautiful by shaping the constellations themselves. All right? That capital G-O-D and not the disordered human imagination is the author of the zodiac. Y'all got that? Is that clear? So it's not men who created this, who came up with it, grouping stars and calling them a constellation, but it is the Most High who grouped these stars, who put each star in its place. That's its configuration. All right, so the Most High took the time out to say, I'm gonna put this star here and that one there, this one there, this, that, and this is the shape it's gonna form as a whole. And together, it is called a constellation or a zodiac sign. Taking you back to Genesis chapter 1, right? The stars are for what? Signs and seasons. If they had no recognizable pattern, you wouldn't be able to do anything with them, right? Okay? So it's not man, but according to these verses, the implication, it is that the Most High configured or placed each star in its position and created these constellations, the entire belt of 12 zodiac signs. Okay? 12 constellations with individual stars grouped together into a specific, identifiable group or constellation. All right? The Most High did it according to these verses, or the implication is, it is not man who did it. All right. This sentiment is repeated in Psalms 147, where we read that capital God determines the number of stars and calls them by name. That's verse 4. That's verse 4. Let me check. Okay, I got plenty of time. The author of the apocryphal book of Enoch, composed probably in the 2nd century BCE, is even more convinced of the divine origin of the zodiac. So let's check out what's in Enoch. When I beheld them, that is the 12 constellations, I blessed. Every time in which they appeared, I blessed the capital Lord of glory, who made those great and splendid signs, that they might display the magnificence of his works to angels and to the souls of men. That's the fleshly body, y'all. Remember, soul is a remix of the Catholic Church. Latin sol, S-O-L, means the sun, the disk in the sky. The Catholic Church threw a U in there and called it a soul. Why? Because we have a S-O-L, soul in us, performs the same function as the sun, S-U-N, disk in the sky, provides heat, etc., heat energy, electromagnetic energy. Well, we have that same power, let's just call it a power pack or a battery, inside of us. All right? Catholic Church just threw a U in there and they call it a soul and says that it survives death. And then they, of course, linked it to money. You need to pay them to get your soul out of hell or purgatory. It survives death, so you need to do everything that they tell you to do, no matter how vile or violent or cowardly it is. You need to do it to ensure that your soul will go to heaven and not burn in hell. Y'all see the psychological operation? And how did they do it? They did it through words. Through words. And how did we discover it and break the spell? Through etymology. Through etymology. All right? So you need to learn etymology. That's why I have the one-on-one Ancient Ibaryath course. Go subscribe now. It's only $10 per month. No contract. So I hope this is clear to you. The key to your psychological liberation and the physical enjoyment of your life is natural law. Returning to natural law, return to the Most High, follow the Most High's instructions, which is natural law. Learn linguistics. Learn what these documents say. And then you'll be able to use philology, etymology, just like you see me doing. You'll get used to it, and it becomes easy for you. You begin to see this stuff everywhere, all right? So all I can do is demonstrate and lead you to the well. You have to pull the trigger. So you need to subscribe, all right? Subscribe. Start learning. All right, let's continue. And these might glorify all his works and operations. Might see. So let me ask y'all, how is it that the celestial bodies might glorify all of the Most High's works and operations? If you just look at the stars, if they're just to look at and say, oh, they're so pretty, how does that glorify the Most High's works and operations? Y'all go look up operations in your law library in your law dictionary. Also, see if works is in there. Put it in the comment section. Let me know what meanings you get. Okay, so that these, that is the celestial bodies, might glorify all, that's 100%, all his works and operations. So you mean to tell me that if I just look up at the sky and I see all of the stars and planets, that glorifies all of the Most High's works and operations? I don't think so. There's more to it. Okay? What do y'all think about that? Because so what? You look up there and you see them. And you see them. Okay, that looks pretty. How does that glorify all of the Most High's works and, keyword, operations? Operations is what he's doing. Has to have some type of influence or effect. So it has to be more than just seeing them. It has to do with what? Understanding their influence. So we're getting into the area of physics, right? Electromagnetism, whatever types of cosmic energies that there are, and how they influence the biological organism and consciousness. Y'all see? And that these might glorify all his works and operations, might see the effect of his power. Well, there it is right there. Might see the effect of his power, might glorify the great labor of his hands, and bless him forever. This is Enoch 35, verse 3. See Prophet, page 135. I got this off of page 35. All right? So y'all take note. Dr. Yasapa did not say it. Enoch said it. All right? When I behold the 12 constellations, I bless the capital Lord of glory, who made those great and splendid signs, who made the Zodiac, that they, why did he make them? That they might display the magnificence of his works to angels and to the souls of men, and that these might glorify all his works and operations. Okay, y'all? Glorify all his works and operations. Just by looking up in the sky? Absolutely not. It has to be much more than that. Otherwise, how does it glorify all of his works and operations? There has to be some energetics of some sort going on other than what you just look at. All right? Anyway, might see the effects of his power, might glorify the great labor of his hand, and bless him forever. All right? So archaeologists have uncovered zodiacs in the floors of ancient synagogues, which clearly show the traditional astrological pictograms. Okay, that's the traditional illustrations and motifs. All right, symbols. The central figure in the zodiac found in the Beth Alpha synagogue is of the Escheat sun in his chariot, making his journey around the circle of the stars. Now, I would be much more interested, or I'm much more interested in the zodiac signs that are present in the Americas. And y'all should realize that whenever you hear temple, anything having to do with the place of worship, you can discount that. Our ancient ancestors were not religified out. They were scientists. And part of the psychic attack on us in modern times is to get us to think in terms of evolution. Okay? There was a beginning. And then mankind came from what? Some molecules came together, formed larger molecules, proteins, etc. Life came up out of the sea onto the land. Eventually, primates were formed. And that mankind, notice that mankind comes from apes, primates. All right? And then the last to appear on the planet, which would be the Paleolithic entity that classifies itself as white, based upon that scheme, says that it's the highest on the evolutionary ladder. So therefore it is the most intelligent, right? Therefore it has the right, because it is the most intelligent, to take everybody's stuff. Okay? That's right, to take everybody's stuff. So if you're looking at, if your worldview, if your world paradigm comes out of evolution, and Darwin himself said, what was his book called? The Origin of Species, something like that, the book he wrote on evolution. He says in the original title, that that book was supposed to put the Aryan race in a superior position. And all other races subject to them, or less than they are. He actually says that in the title. That's his original title. Y'all go check it. Isn't that Genesis chapter 1, y'all? Isn't that Genesis chapter 1? Right? Have in subjection all other creatures moving on the earth. That would include Genesis chapter 2, autochthonous Moors. All right? That would, in other words, this is about hybrids and non-hybrids. It's about non-hybrids and hybrids, or hybrids and non-hybrids. Why is it about that? Control over land. That is the only need for a corporation. That's the only need for maritime law being on the land. Why? Because natural law, there are heirs, rightful heirs. Okay, but everybody has a right to contract. And if you say that you're African American, you're Latino, you're this, you out of your own mouth have disinherited yourself. And so who has possession of it? Well, they have the rightful use because you gave it up. But in its most simple form, that's all it's about. So therefore, there are corporations, corporate states, and secret societies, and traitors amongst your own people who are given Scooby snacks to keep you into Christianity and to keep you in the religious paradigm, Christianity, Islam, whatever, external deity worship, and in the Negro, black, and colored paradigm. That keeps you in what? That keeps you in your oppressor's jurisdiction. That keeps you in the hybrid's jurisdiction. All right? Out of your own mouth, you're speaking language that puts you in the jurisdiction of religion, the Catholic Church, which is maritime law, which is you are a subject, chattel. Everybody see it? This is what Christianity is. Hence Pisces, duplicity. You think it's one thing when it's actually a whole other thing. Duplicity, intentional deception, intentional deceit. Let's continue. The central figure in the Zodiac found in Beth Alpha Synagogue is the sun disk in the sky in his chariot, making his journey around the circle of the stars. All right, the circle of the stars is Zodiac. The annual journey of the sun through the Zodiac is a natural symbol for all journeys, and in particular, the life journey of the human being. Now, it's my habit to replace human being with Han Uman, the hybrid half man, half primate. Okay, half man, half monkey. The planet of the apes creature. You know what? Y'all can also think about this. The Wizard of Oz, remember the flying monkeys? Remember the flying monkeys? How they were used to terrorize the people. You have the Wicked Witch, and you know, and the guy, the little hybrid caveman. They send out the flying monkeys, scare everybody to death. I used to be scared of them when I was a little boy. They scared me to death when I was little. It's just so vile, right? Flying monkeys, they look so evil. And then the Wicked Witch, she had a green face. Eesh. I didn't want to watch The Wizard of Oz because of that. All right? So, but what you do is what you do. I'm only telling you what I do. I make the distinction between human. I understand that these writings can have a double or triple meaning. So I discipline myself to always acknowledge that the human is different from man and woman. Hue, man. Man with hue, man with color, that's a colorable man. So if you look up color in your law library, you're going to see that it is a symbolicum. Looks like the real thing, but it doesn't have the substance. In other words, it looks like a man, but it was made from the egg of a Moabite woman and the sperm of a chimpanzee. So it looks like a man, but it doesn't have the substance. It is not autochthonous. It was not sprung from the soil. So it's a knockoff. Y'all got it? It looks like a Gucci or Prada, but it's not made from the same materials or craftsmanship. It's a knockoff. All right? Always make the distinction, not when you read, but when you interact with people. Okay? You can be pleasantly surprised, but you'll never be surprised or shocked or caught off guard by anybody's behavior. The word, quote unquote, zodiac comes from the primitive root zoad. Y'all should see the video I did on this. I don't remember what it's called, but y'all go search for it. From the primitive root zoad or zod, Z-O-A-D, a walk, way, or going by steps. Okay, it is a primitive root. A primitive root is a root word. See, this is why I wrote the Dr. Yasapa, Ibaryath, Aramaic, and English lexicon of root words. Your roots are your key. All words are made from roots. All right, so zodiac comes from the primitive root, and primitive has a meaning. The primitive root zod, zio, or going by steps. Y'all can check this as SICE, page 17. The asterisk reads, some astrologers consider that, quote unquote, zodiac means circle of living things or circle of animals. From the Greek root zo, that's Z-O-E, which means life. Libra, the scales, is not a living thing. And Gemini, the twins, Virgo, the maiden, and Aquarius, the water bearer, are not, strictly speaking, animals. Nor are fish, which is Pisces, animals. And how do we categorize the Cantor, which is Sagittarius? Y'all got that? So there's a problem with the etymology here and the symbols that represent the zodiac. So what's the solution? If the zodiac means the circle of living things, or, see, scales are not living, are they? Libra, which is the scales are not living. So that needs to be corrected. This is all we see here. We learned a lot here. Or circle of animals, from the Greek root zo. So since that's a Greek root, how about we dismiss it? Because it's Greek. Okay, first of all, Greece is made up. Now, does that mean that the culture is made up? Not necessarily. Right? They could have just used somebody else's culture and stamped Greece on it. Okay? But it is not ancient. And it's made up. The Hebrew root, circle of living things. Since the Hebrews were taught by the Egyptians, common sense tells us what? Well, let's go take a look and see how the Egyptians define zodiac. If they're using a root word system, we just find the root word, the root that's used in zodiac or for zodiac, what that root is. What does it mean? Boom, there it is. Maybe it does mean the circle of living things. Or if we just want to go with the Ibaryath, circle of living things, what do? We come up with, we figure out which living thing should represent each zodiac. And now we've done what? We've corrected the zodiac. We've corrected it. Now we're living more in harmony with our ancient foremothers and forefathers. Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. Follow the principles, values, culture, heritage, sciences included. Remember, their whole societies were governed by science. Natural science, nature. See how simple that is? I came up with that because of my knowledge of linguistics. Period. There's no big puzzle to solve. So if y'all want to support my project to write the book of the law in Ancient Ibaryath and modern English, to show you all of the etymological meanings, to show you how I render every word, to show you the function of every word, the grammar, the part of speech. If there's enough support, I'll do the morphology, word morphology. In other words, here's the root, and then I'll show you how the word is formed from the root, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, whatever. But that's a big job, very big job. All right, so if y'all want that, support the project with your fiat, whether it's pesos, Mexican or Philippine pesos, French francs, euros, US or Canadian dollars, Australian dollars, wherever you're at on the planet. Okay, the PayPal is paypal.me/Zion Law School. All right? So that's how we can correct the zodiac. That's how we can return to our heritage. But it's got to be studied. And from that, we do our best. Okay? And our best is all that we need to do. That's all we need to do. Okay? Because see, as we get these insights and these downloads, that means all you need to do is do it. All right? So let's continue. Let me check the time. All right, I'm still good. Okay, so let's go back to the paragraph. The word zodiac comes from the primitive root zod, Z-O-A-D, which means a walk, way, or going by steps, and is related to the Greek word hodos, H-O-D-O-S, which is road, R-O-A-D, and in Sanskrit, so we can accept Sanskrit because Sanskrit is ancient, and in Sanskrit, sodi, S-O-D-I, which means path. All right, so we can also check the Sanskrit word to see if it has anything relating to a meaning similar to circle of living things. All right, circle of living things. Okay? All right, and it's related to the Greek word hodos, which is road, and the Sanskrit, which is ancient, very ancient. Okay, so the Sanskrit word is sodi, S-O-D-I, which means path. We can accept that and we can work with it, investigate it, and use it. The Greek, me personally, I would scrap it. It is worth remembering in this context that the early Christians were said to be followers of the way. Acts 24:14. I remember I brought that out, I believe, in that video that I told y'all to go check, where I presented this information about the Maseroth and Zod. And early Christians called themselves the Way. They called themselves the Way. What are they calling themselves? They're calling themselves astrologers, the Way, the Zodiac. Y'all see that? Earlier, let me repeat it. It is worth remembering in this context that the early Christians were said to be followers of the Way. Followers of the Way means followers of the Zodiac. If they follow the Zodiac, that means they are astrologers. That means that Christianity being represented by a fish and Christ feeding the masses with 2 fish and 5 loaves, or however many is purely astrological. Y'all see it? It's right there. The Way. Okay? The annual journey of the sun through the zodiac is a natural symbol for all journeys. So a journey, when you go on a journey, that's a way, right? That's a way. A journey is a way, right? In particular, the life journey of the human being. The word zodiac comes from the primitive root zoad, a walk, way, or going by steps, and is related to the Greek word hodos, which is road, roadway, and the Sanskrit sodi, path. A path is also a way, right? Tell me the way to get to San Jose. It is worth remembering in this context that the early Christians were said to be followers of the Way, followers of the Zodiac. Y'all see it? Y'all see it? Followers of the Way. I am the truth. What does Christ say? I am the truth. I am the truth and the light. Anyone who wants to get to the Father must come through me. The Way. The solar myth of the hero who goes out to meet a series of ordeals, usually 12, before returning in triumph, is patterned on the sun's annual cycle. Gilgamesh, such a solar hero, as are Hercules and Theseus. Related ideas are found in the Arthurian legends, in which the king sits in the center of a round table surrounded by 12 knights, JC and his apostles, but they sat at a straight table, right? But the round table is what? The zodiac. And then the sun, right, wherever it's at in the ecliptic, the 12 knights are the 12 zodiac signs. Y'all got it? Let me check the time. All right. Such solar heroes have an unusual birth. Hercules, for example, also held to be the son of Amphitryon, was really the son of Zeus, Dios, capital G-O-D, right? Who, in time honored custom, had visited Amphitryon's wife, Alcmena, while her husband was away at the wars. Perseus was also sired by Zeus, who came to Perseus' mother's Danae in the form of a golden shower. It sounds sick, doesn't it, yo? The Bible has its own solar myth in the story of Samson. Check it at Judges chapter 13 through 16, y'all. Like the Greek heroes and like Isaac in Genesis chapter 21, verse 1, and Samuel in Samuel chapter 1, Samson's entry into the world is a result of divine intervention. Just like the other solar heroes, his mother is barren, but is informed of the impending conception of a son by an angelic visitor. Check it at Judges chapter 1, verse 2 through 25. Samson's name in Hebrew is Shimshon, from the root Shemesh. From the root Shemesh. See, everything is roots. You must know roots. That's why I put the lexicon together of Ibaryath Aramaic roots. Okay? That's why I did it. Roots is the key. It is not a big, thick lexicon of every Ibaryath word. No, it is a small book that contains every Ibaryath and Aramaic root word that all words in Scripture were built on. That's why you have a big lexicon, okay? The root Shemesh means son, S-U-N. That's Samson. Samson's name means son one. I think I've heard of one who calls himself son one. S-U-N hyphen O-N-E, son one. Okay, that's a nice appellation. Not nice, but that's a great appellation for someone who wants to use that son one. I like it. Son one, or as Dubbin has it, belonging to the sun, S-U-N. Y'all can check that at Dubbin, page 115. Today we would probably call him Sonny. So son one in modern English is Sonny. The guy who, when I grew up, one of my neighbors, his name was Sonny. And then actually he moved to California. Quite interesting, right? Sonny. Skippy, Lorani, Sonny. These were guys I grew up with next door to me. And their mom, Miss Anderson. Really, really good people. I wish I could see them again. You know, really, really good people. His concubine is the Philistine. She's a Philistine. Y'all know that the Philistines, did I share this with y'all? I don't know if I shared this. But there's some indication that the Philistines were hybrids. I got to go back. I don't remember exactly where I saw that, but I did see it. I'm going to check into it. That would explain Delilah's behavior, wouldn't it? His concubine is the Philistine Delilah, whose name comes from Deli, which means water bucket. Water bucket. The same word as is used in Hebrew for the constellation Aquarius. In astrology, the S-U-N sun, the disk in the sky, is said to rule, R-U-L-E, is said to rule Leo. All right? So the sun, the disk in the sky, rules Leo. Leo the lion, the tribe of Judah. Right? The sign of the midsummer, so Leo is the sign of the midsummer, when the sun's rays are at their fiercest. Sun's rays, Samson's locks, are at their fiercest. Fierce locks, dreadlocks to your enemies. They dread those locks, right? Samson's first feat of strength is the killing of the lion, Leo, in the vineyards of Timnath. In Aquarius, a winter constellation, the sun, its power at its weakest. So in other words, in the winter, the sun's power is at its weakest, right? It's been humiliated. The number of nighttime hours is big or many, and the number of daytime hours are few. Okay, so the sun's power is at its weakest because the number of hours of days are very, very short. All right, so when the sun is at its weakest power, it's said to be in its detriment, right? The sun is in its detriment. It's humiliated, only meaning that the number of daylight hours are very small. It's dominated by dark hours. Delilah, representing Aquarius, clips Samson's mane. Samson's mane, his locks, okay? In parentheses, it says the sun's rays, and so brings about Samson's downfall. Y'all see the correlation? See the correlation? In the winter, the sunlight hours are at its minimum. Weakest, Samson gets his locks clipped by Delilah. Delilah is Aquarius, a winter constellation. Simple, right? And so when she clips his locks, when the sun rays are cut off, Samson no longer has any power. That's Samson's downfall. Samson dies in the temple of the fish god, Dagon. Y'all hear that? Samson dies in the temple of the fish god. JC is the fish. We saw Mary at her breast a fish, right? Christianity is Pisces. Natural law dies or is at its weakest in the presence of Christianity. Christianity, the deity of Christianity, is Dagon, Oannes, which is the Raphaim. Samson dies between two pillars, two fish, echoing the sun's death in Pisces, the sign of two fish, and prefiguring the Piscean death of JC between two thieves. Islam to the Moors. Support my work. I gotta run, y'all. I have an appointment. Y'all buy my books. I got links to many Ancient Ibaryath books that I have written. The links are in the description area of the book. Support the project to write the Book of the Law into Ancient Ibaryath and Modern English with the restoration of natural law, and everything that was taken out will be put back in, and all the lies and deceit, all the deception, I'm going to remove it. Shalom and Islam Moors.